We are back because it is as it always is. The Motor City Cats back at it. Came to give you stats, not static. Whatever you do, make sure you keep your Lions news pragmatic. We got some things to get into today. Got some different topics to cover. It's not the slander that I want to focus on today because yesterday was a heavy slander focus. We talked about Rob Parker. We talked about Teddy Bruschi. We talked about national media people who just can't stop talking about the Detroit Lions, and the takes that they have are very, very asinine. Speaking of asinine, Emmanuel Acho, and this is something I didn't address before, but Emmanuel Acho said that Dan Campbell wasn't going for fourth downs out of necessity. He was just being asinine, as in you were already in field goal range. You risk turning it over on downs for 4 yards. This is what he said. I guess what we're going to have to realize is that Dan Campbell is just the smartest person in the room. And I don't mean in a Bob Quinn type of way. I don't mean in a Matt Patricia type of way. I don't mean in a Quinn Tricia type of situation, right? Where they thought that they were the smartest guys in the room, and it was out of arrogance and, just thinking that they had more football knowledge than they did. And whatever football knowledge that they did have didn't actually translate to the field, to the organization, and what have you. That's not what I'm talking about. It's just that Dan Campbell thinks on a higher plane than all these media pundits and other people, because it was a very simple explanation that he gave. And I don't understand why we have to talk about the explanation that he gave. He said, didn't want to give the ball back to the Packers. Very simple. Simple. Didn't want to give the ball back to the Green Bay Packers. I don't understand why that's hard to understand, but they have difficulty doing it. So before we get into what we're actually going to talk about today, make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you share the screen. Make sure you let everybody know what's going on. What's up? What's happening? Motor City Cats back at it. What is up, though? Lone Spoon. All right. Cool. You be the dad that you need to be. You be the change that you want to see. You know what I'm talking about? All right. So, as we have seen, the title of, or on the thumbnail, you see the Detroit Lions in Don't Look Now. All right. So all of my, my live streams, right? If I'm not breaking down a game, if I'm not live streaming, if I'm not talking about the game that just happened on Sunday or Monday or Thursday, right? I'm doing Motor City Cats Productions, right? It's like a movie. When you come here, you get the movie experience, you get the whole entertainment, you get everything, bro. So it's a Motor City Cats production. So today's Motor City Cats production is Detroit Lions in Don't Look Now. And the reason that I mentioned the national media, because it's not the firestorm that's been going on and all the crazy things that the national media has been saying. But once again, I tried it, and I only did it to fill space. I was in my car. I was driving. I had listened to, all the podcasts I usually listen to, including the Chicago Bears podcast, just to hear their misery. What is up, though, mile marker? So again, came time for nightcap. And Chad Ochocinco, Shannon Sharp, singing the praises of the Detroit Lions, talking about how good they are when they're going to be facing off against the Buffalo Bills. Obviously, that's the main priority, and that's the top of our list right now because they're the next opponent in front of us. Now, we've seen how their defense got demolished against, the Los Angeles Rams. And while they did say that Detroit just has so many weapons. They got Amon-Ra St. Brown. They got J-Mo. They got LaPorta. They got Tim Patrick. They got the two-headed monster in the backfield with Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, Sonic and Knuckles. They mention all of that. But then they're just, again, it was, this narrative has been built so high and for so long that it's just something that people fall back on, right? There's one of the many things that people fall back on when it comes to the Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions are a dome team. You can't play outside in the elements. Well, look what we did when we went in the freaking monsoon in Green Bay. We did pretty well, right? BTA. Okay, we did BTA for sure. And just the list goes on and on. I mean, we've become road warriors. We've got 13 games that we've played. The only one that we've lost actually is at home. We're undefeated on the road. Okay? My marker says they still count us out. Exactly. To a certain extent, right? We're getting a little bit more respect, but there's still things that they're falling back on. So what does Chad Ochocinco say? He says, but I think their secondary can be had. And then Shannon was like, yes, right. No, not right. What are we talking about? The numbers don't bear out what you're talking about. And we're going to get to the numbers in a bit. The eye test doesn't bear out what you're talking about. And we're going to talk about the eye test. I want to know what you're seeing when you tell me the Lions secondary can be had. What up, though, John effing Lord? Glad you made it. So when you tell me the Lions secondary can be had, what are you talking about? Because what I'm looking at with the Lions secondary is Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch, smash and grab, whatever you want to call them, right? They're the best safety tandem in the NFL. We have two safeties. Both of them are the best. Okay? Together, they are the best. One of them leads the league in interceptions. The other one is leading the league in pass breakups. What are we discussing? Then we have Carlton Davis, who has done pretty much what he has said that he would do in his introductory press conference. If you remember, Carlton Davis came in and he said, well, you get in the lockdown corner. I'm going to make one side of the field unavailable. And that's pretty much what he has done. Save the big play that he gave up against Christian Watson in the second half of that game. Save that one, right? Big play. Did he score? No, he didn't score. Okay. Terrion Arnold. And Terrion Arnold is going to be the focal point as we start to get into the topic. Terrion Arnold has been great in his rookie season. The only thing that Terrion Arnold really has dealt with is he's had difficulties with penalties. Some of them have been his fault. Some of them have been just soft referee, what would you call it? Execution? I don't know. Okay. But the referees were just being soft. Some of those things were not pass interference. Some of those things were holding, yada, yada, yada. Obviously, when you have your Lions tinted glasses on, all right, and if y'all want to get some victory buffs, be like me. Maybe I should start selling them, right? Everyone's marketing things. Let me market the victory buffs. So if you have your rose tinted, or colored lenses or whatever you want to call it, your Honolulu blue colored lenses, if you look at the Christian Watson play in the back of the end zone and you go, well, this shouldn't have been pass interference. I mean, a lot of contact. So I'm not going to be one to say, well, that shouldn't have been pass interference, because I could see the reason why it was called. That it wasn't like the Kendall Vildor situation where you were like, what happened here? Why was this called a pass interference, right? So Dan Campbell echoed the sentiment, and he said, what? What did he say about Terrion Arnold? Let's look at what he said. So we've got an article from Detroit Lions on SI, written by Christian Boger. The Lions pleased Terrion Arnold had best career game against Packers. Okay, so what are we saying? It says Detroit Lions rookie cornerback Terrion Arnold has had his share of high and low moments in his rookie season. A first-round pick for the Lions in this year's draft, Arnold has been a starter since day one for the defense. Detroit has stuck with him despite some rough showings and difficult moments in the early stages of his career. Now, obviously, when you draft a corner in the first round, you expect some growing pains. Okay? You expect some growing pains. Let me make sure I'm looking in the camera here, because if you know me, you know where I'm going. You expect some growing pains, but Terrion Arnold is a guy that once I saw him play, I could see it. I could see why they picked him. I understood why they picked him. His coverage all year has been very sticky. I've never thought, man, this guy has never played football before, or he looks like he has never played football before, and we didn't even pick him number 3 overall. I've never thought to give him the nickname burnt toast or barbecue chicken. I've never thought to do that with Terrion Arnold. So anybody who was out there in Lions fandom who ever had the inkling of this man being anything close to goddamn Jeff Okudah, I want you to get up, go look in the mirror right now, slap yourself, and then come sit back down and listen to the show. Okay? Do that for me. If you were out there thinking that this man was going to be an Okudah bust, you need to have your head examined. But anyway, I understand not everybody, knows what they're looking at. Not every fan is short for the word fanatic. Okay, is short for the word fanatic. So sometimes we see things as fans and we go, right? The sky is falling. We do the Chicken Little routine. Sometimes we do that. So I guess seeing the penalties and things like that from Terrion Arnold early on, a lot of people thought that the sky was falling. A lot of people were like, this guy's a bust. Oh, no, we suck again. You know what I mean? They thought that was what was happening. But it isn't. And it wasn't, and it hasn't been. Okay? So as I said, Terrion Arnold, now he did have issues with flags, and he's had them throughout the season. Sticky coverage, always where he's supposed to be. Some things, sometimes, he puts a whole lot of pressure on himself. So if he feels that he's getting beat, or he feels that the receiver is sliding past him, and there was one game, I don't remember exactly which one it was. Maybe it was, I think it was in was it? No, it wasn't Indianapolis. He didn't play against the Colts. It was one game. Anyway, basically what happened was he grabbed at a receiver and got a pass interference, whereas all he had to do was locate the ball, and that would have been a potential interception. Okay? That's all he had to do in that instance, but he got a little bit behind and, just a little bit in his head and was like, oh, no, I can't give this up, so I need to go ahead and do that. Mile Marker says, and he said, gonna force Lions to third down. They forgot we use fourth downs as needed. Oh, I don't think anybody forgot we use fourth downs as needed. That's been a huge topic in the national media. All right, so let's get back to the rest of what this article was saying. Okay, so right, so he's had problems with flags in the early stages of his career. However, recent weeks have shown Arnold taking major strides as the calendar turned to December. On Thursday night against the Green Bay Packers, Arnold did draw a pass interference penalty in the end zone, but was targeted a season low 2 times in a performance that drew high praise from coach Dan Campbell. I thought that was Arnold's best game of the season, Campbell said. Arnold earned a 60.5 overall defensive grade from Pro Football Focus for his performance in Thursday's game. While he allowed completions on both of the two targets he allowed just 9 total yards on the 2 catches. One of those catches saw him land a big third down stop of wide receiver Christian Watson to force a punt. Much has been made of Arnold's struggles with a tendency to grab, which leads to penalties in coverage. However, the defender has improved with avoiding such issues in recent weeks. His penalty Thursday was the first since week 10 and just his second since week 4. I don't know about all that. Since week 4, just a second? That seems rather cleaned up-ish, if you ask me. So even early in the year, the penalties he drew were often the product of being too physical at the catch point. With his improvement in this area, he's been able to thrive for the Lions defense. He's still awaiting his first career interception, but the Lions defense has benefited from a stronger showing from him in recent weeks. Okay, again, let me just make this point. He's being too physical at the catch point. You have to be in coverage, in phase, to be physical at the catch point. So the catch point is where the receiver is attempting to catch the football. If you're being too physical at that time, at that point, that means your coverage is good. You just need to clean up what you're doing once you are trying to defend against the receiver catching the football. So Campbell compared Arnold's trajectory to that of other rookies he's had in previous years. While some tend to dip in production at this stage of their season, Arnold has followed in the footsteps of Amon-Ra St. Brown, Penei Sewell, and Aleem McNeil with his growth over the course of the season. I think we're getting to that time of the year, and honestly, what happens with a lot of rookies, especially guys you're counting on, unfortunately, some of them start to take a nosedive because this is where their season begins to dip down. It's over, Campbell said. But then the other ones who hang in there, man, they really start taking flight. That's what St. Brown did his rookie year. He started to take off. Once we hit November, December, he started to gain strength. Sewell did the same thing. Mac did the same thing. I feel like that's where Arnold's at. He's starting to push through this, and he's gaining enough valuable reps, experience. He's not letting the grind of the season weigh him down, and he's getting better. Now, as I said, Terrion Arnold has been doing a great job this season. Penalties, notwithstanding the penalties aside, he's been doing a great job. He's been very sticky in coverage. Now, here's the thing that I want to address again. The Detroit Lions, according to Chad Ochocinco, the Detroit Lions secondary can be had. I've already gone over, okay? Let me get to your comment, Lone Spoon. So you say TA needs to figure out how to get his head around, but other than that, he's good. Yeah, so again, I think that's going to be something that's going to be of emphasis when it comes to, if not the playoffs, then it'll just have to be the offseason, right? So he's gotta get his head around. There was, like I said, that one play, I don't remember what game it was in, but had he just gotten his head around, he probably would have picked it off. There was no need to grab. But again, in his mind, he's put so much pressure on himself. If you remember before the season, he was talking about this rookie is under tremendous pressure and he's got to play well because, basically the expectation is the Super Bowl. So I think that once he stops putting that pressure on himself, then he'll be able to be good. And here's another thing that I wouldn't say about Terrion Arnold. Because he's gone through the growing pains this year and he's going to be able to hopefully come out on the other side and not really lose anything, right? But gain in technique and gain in and awareness, like we said, getting your head around and understanding how to do that and cover at the same time. I think his second season, barring injury, because this is just what the Detroit Lions are dealing with. This is what every team deals with in the NFL, but the Detroit Lions, especially this year. So his second season, barring injury, I think will be better than Sauce Gardner's second season. Sauce Gardner's season this season hasn't been great. And it's understandable. You kind of lose motivation to play when you're playing for the Jets, and then you've got Aaron Rodgers over there completely dismantling your franchise from the inside. Okay, so there's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of mental stuff going on in New York that's not going on here. And we don't have that situation. Okay, so Justin Fan says Sunday will be a shootout. TaylorMade Media says Josh Allen's going after Terrion on Sunday, though. I don't know that he's going after Terrion. Who's he going after Terrion with? Is Keon Coleman going to be back? Okay, again, as I said, we'll get into probably tomorrow, get into some Bills injury reports and things of this nature, because that's when they'll come out. But is Keon Coleman going to be back? Is Amari Cooper the same guy that he used to be? Khalil Shakir is a slot guy. So I don't know that he's going to be going after Terrion Arnold. I don't think there's anyone on this defense, in this secondary, that you go after. This is the thing. I don't see, and I haven't seen, correct me if I'm wrong, if you think, if there was a particular game where someone was picking on Terrion Arnold. If you look at the Los Angeles Rams game, I don't think Stafford was picking on Terrion Arnold. I think Stafford was just throwing the ball to Cooper Kupp 14 times. It was like 14 times, and he got, or was it 20 times? It was a bunch of times. He caught a bunch of passes, but his yardage per catch was like 5 yards or something. It was very inefficient, right? He got over 100 yards, but it was a very inefficient way that he did it. So, and then even after that game, Cooper Kupp gave Terrion Arnold his props. Okay? That was his first game. The Los Angeles Rams game was Terrion Arnold's first game, and Cooper Kupp called him one of them ones. First game, rookie season. First time he's ever actually stepped on an NFL field, and it actually meant something. It counted. Not preseason, regular season. Okay? And you've got the Triple Crown winner, okay, telling you that you are one of them ones. Okay? He had to go up against you all game, and those were the comments that he gave to you. He didn't have to say that. He didn't need to say that, but he felt that he should, because he wanted everyone to recognize this kid, Terrion Arnold, is a dog. Okay? And we got a dog. And we got a star, just like he said we did when we drafted him in Detroit. But here's the thing. The Detroit Lions secondary can be had. My question is, if you've been watching the games, and I know they haven't, I know the national media doesn't watch the games. I know the national media has narratives, and they're going to run with the narratives until they can't anymore. And the Detroit Lions, all the fault of our own, have given the national media narratives for many, 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 many years. Okay? Team's been bad. Franchise has been bad for many, 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 many years. So I understand the reluctance to actually sit up and pay attention when the Detroit Lions are talking. But the Detroit Lions have been talking all season. They've been talking to the tune of 12-1. They've been talking to the tune of having played 13 games and only losing one of them, and they only lost that one because they decided that they were going to throw the ball 50 times. Not because the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were a better team, not because, and I'm not sounding like the Packers, right? We outgained them. They did shut us down in the red zone. Okay, we were 1 of 7. We didn't play Detroit Lions football. Okay, so I'm saying we didn't just get outclassed and we were out there and we got whooped. No, I think we only lost by 4. So the narrative that our secondary can be had is a narrative that I want to understand. I want to dissect. I want to understand why we believe in the national media that this is still a thing. Numbers. Well, as they say, men lie, women lie, but numbers don't. I say men lie, women lie, and numbers do as well, right? Numbers will lie to you. That's why I'm not a stat guy. You need stats, you need eye tests, you need logic, you need context. You need all of those things to form an actual argument that makes any sense. Okay? Because if you don't have those things, then the arguments that you're forming, they make no sense and you look stupid. That's just the long and the short of it. So let's look at some numbers. Okay. The numbers that were mentioned in the article were 60.5 PFF grade. I'm not even going to pretend to know what PFF does when they're grading people. I've been outspoken against PFF. If you were with me in the last place that I was at, I had a whole off-season war on PFF, stemming from Trevor Sikkema going on the Woodward Heavyweights and talking about basically, Jared Goff was kind of bottom of the barrel or middle of the pack in the actual NFC, not even the NFL. This is the NFC, and now he's kind of top 5 favorites to win MVP. But I'm just saying, I was not wrong, and Trevor Sikkema was, and PFF makes up like stats and things that they can grade people with, like big time throws. They're like, oh, big time throws is 20 yards down. Any throw that's 20 yards down the field into a tight window, which I guess they weren't watching Jared Goff last year because there were a lot of throws that he fit into tight windows, a whole lot of them. Some of them you were like, damn, that window is too tight for you to be throwing. I am surprised it didn't get picked off. But this is PFF. Overall, for the entire year, Terrion Arnold's PFF grade is a 51 coverage grade. I don't know what that means, okay? All I do know is that if they do it out of 100, 51 is pretty much almost dead middle of the pack, right? Here's Johnny says 12 and 1. All right. What is up? What is up though? Here's Johnny. Justin Fan says figures, numbers never lie, but liars can figure. Use stats for their narrative. Okay, I get what you're saying. All right. So as I said, Terrion Arnold's PFF grade is middle of the pack. It's not great. But so the Lions secondary, okay, this is the thing. All right, let me look exactly because I pulled these numbers up. All right, so let's look at total defense. Total defense. Again, I'm talking to Lions fans, but hopefully there will be, somebody in the national media will see this. That's why we got to smash the like button. That's why we got to share. That's why we got to subscribe. That's why we got to do all these things to get this out to other Lions fans and to get this out to people that need to hear it. If you know someone that needs to hear this, then you need to share it with them, even if they're not a Lions fan. If they're Bills fans, if they're Packers fans, if they're Bears fans, if they're Vikings fans, especially if they're these people. All right. The Lions defense. 13 defensive players on IR. Not just anybody. You got starters on IR. You got Aidan Hutchinson, who it took, I believe, 3 weeks. He had 7.5 sacks when he went out. And this was like the 4th game of the season where he went out, 4th or 5th, okay, against the Dallas Cowboys. It took 3 weeks for someone to surpass him. He was a potential MVP candidate. He definitely was probably going to be the front runner for Defensive Player of the Year. But 13 players on IR. You got Alex Anzalone out. You got Aidan Hutchinson. You got Marcus Davenport. You got Derek Barnes. You got Kaminsky. You got all these people on IR, right? That's a lot of people that are in the front seven. Okay, Malcolm Rodriguez recently added to IR. The front seven has been depleted by injuries. Only 2 secondary pieces are on IR. One of them being Iffy, who hasn't played the entire season, and one of them being Ennis Rakestraw, who is a rookie who is only playing in spot duty and on special teams, right? So these are the players that you have on IR, right? As I said, the secondary largely unaffected. The game against the Packers, and this is something that people don't understand. It's a very, very simple point. There were people such as Quan Alexander and Jamal Adams wearing name tags in the locker room. Now, I know that this didn't actually happen, but the turnaround, we get a guy on Sunday, Monday. He plays in the game on Thursday. Okay? This is what was happening with Quan Alexander and Jamal Adams and Miles Adams and Jonah Williams. I don't even know if Jonah Williams played, right? But we got just, the replacements. And our numbers for the defense still look like this. In total difference, the Lions are still top 10. We're at number 10. We used to be a lot higher, right? We used to be like 3, 4, 5. Okay. Giving up 318 yards, 318.6 yards per game. A total of 24 touchdowns. Okay. Number 1 touchdown giver-uppers are the Detroit Lions. Okay, number 1, and I mean, we have given up the fewest touchdowns. Sorry, that's not the Lions. That is the Chargers. The Chargers have 21. The Lions have 24. So we're number 2. Still, with all these people on IR. Okay, that's total defense. Passing defense. The Lions' passing defense per yards has taken a dip. We've given up 224.7 yards per game. Guess how many passing touchdowns we've given up? Now, remember I said that Caleb Williams was the first quarterback on Thanksgiving. This is when this happened. To come in to not just into Ford Field, come on the field with the Detroit Lions and give up and throw for more than a touchdown. No one had done it all season. If you played the Detroit Lions, you were either going to not throw a touchdown pass or you were going to throw 1 touchdown pass. You were not going to throw 2. You were not going to throw 3, 4, nothing beyond 1. So Caleb Williams was the first to do that. Kudos to him, I guess. We've given up 11 touchdowns. Guess what that ranks in the league? Passing touchdowns. That is number 1. The Jets have also done that. Okay? So we are tied for number 1 with the Jets. While our passing defense per yardage has gone down to number 23, we are number 1. Okay? Giving up the fewest touchdown passes in the NFL. Okay? Now, Even if we go rushing defense, we're still fifth. We're still top 5 in rushing. Okay, 93.9 yards per game. Okay, now a couple big games by Josh Jacobs and Tony Pollard and these people, right? Still have only given up 12 touchdowns. Okay, the Vikings have given up the fewest. The Vikings and the Texans have given up the fewest. Actually, no, the second fewest. The fewest, again, is the Chargers. Okay, the Chargers have given up 6. The Falcons, the Vikings, and the Texans have given up 7. That's on the ground. That's not really what we're talking about, right? Scoring defense. The Lions are still number 2. All right, the Chargers are number 1 at 15.9. Okay. Points per game, and then the Eagles, Broncos, and the Lions are all tied for number 2 at 18 points per game. Okay. Red zone defense, Lions are still number 4, 47.2%. Okay. If you get into the red zone, you have a 47.2% chance to score on the Detroit Lions. The third down defense, the Detroit Lions are still number 1. Numero uno. 31.3% chance to convert on third down. 31.3% chance. That's not very good. Okay? That's not very good. It's a 69, or what we say, 68.7% chance that you will not convert the third down. All right. Based off of these numbers and based off of what we've seen the Detroit Lions do on the football field, we had a shootout on Thursday with the Packers. Despite what Shannon Sharp and Ocho Cinco thought, this was not a short week. Both of these teams played on Thanksgiving. So both of these teams had a week of rest to play this game. It was a shootout. This is why they were like, oh, this is the best Thursday night football game that we've seen all season. Yes, because both of the teams were on full weeks, right? Usually what happens on Thursday night football games, either one or mostly both of them are on short weeks. They've just played on Sunday, so there's not a lot of preparation. Guys are still getting healthy and healing up, and then you come to Thursday night football and you've got to play a game. And neither one of the teams really wants to play the game. They're out of rhythm. They're out of sync. So it generally is a bad product. Okay? That's why. So before I get to the rest of that, good morning to you, Paul Thomas. Bears fans exist. Yes, there are a lot of Bears fans crying very salty, very, very frequent, and very, very flavorsome tears that I love to drink to quench my thirst for, I don't know, I'm sick, right? I'm just sick like that. I love wallowing in the Bears fans' misery. So Justin fan says most delusional Bears fans, number 1, Vikings fans, number 2, Packers fans, number 3. Tyrese Hicks says, not to mention every game, somebody else gets banged up and has to exit the game. Correct. Like Brian Branch was suffering from cramps at the end of the game against Green Bay, which is another reason, like I said, the law firm of Joseph and Joseph isn't a good law firm. Only one of the Josephs is good, and the other one goes and gets coffee while they're, preparing for the case. TaylorMade Media says, if Caleb can do it as a rookie, what stops Josh Allen from doing it? See, I'm going to get to you. I'm going to get to you, TaylorMade. Look, here's the thing, what I'm saying. I'm not saying that Josh Allen's not going to have a game. Okay? We saw what Josh Allen was able to do against the Los Angeles Rams, he had a historic game and he still lost. Also, our secondary is better than the Rams secondary. Our defense overall is better than the Rams defense. The things that we do well, the Bills don't do well. I think we can force Josh Allen back to his old self, throwing ill-advised passes and getting some more interceptions. Kirby might get you one. Brian Branch might get you one. We saw Carlton Davis get 2 in the same game off of C.J. Stroud, who doesn't typically throw a lot of interceptions. Obviously, he's thrown more this year than he did in his rookie season, but I believe, that you're looking at a different product on the field against the Rams or against the Lions than you were looking at against the Rams. So Josh Allen, again, is going to have to put that cape on. And he put the cape on in a historical fashion and did not win against the Rams. Again, there was probably some element of trap game. Okay? You're looking at a team that was 6-6. You were 10-2, and you were about to go into the teeth of the Lions' den. Okay? And you are about to face the Detroit Lions, who are 12-1, a juggernaut that continues to keep on chugging along while we've got 13 defensive players on IR. 3 more couldn't go before the game, and 2 more exited the game before the end of it. Okay? We didn't have a single starter on that defensive line. Obviously, Zadarius Smith is a starter, but from the beginning of the season, we didn't have a single starter on that defensive line when Aleem McNeil went out with the concussion or whatever they're called now. That, Dan Campbell said yesterday that he has to clear protocol. They said during the game, the announcer said that it was, or the sideline reporter said it was not a concussion but a head injury. So I don't know if head injury protocol and concussion protocol are different. I'm not sure. Just a fan, the Rams D-line is better than the Lions D-line 100% because of injuries. But here's the thing. Zadarius Smith, DJ Reader, and Aleem McNeil, damn good defensive line. Damn good. Okay? And all veterans. Right? Remember, the Lions have 2 very good rookies on their defensive line. I think Bryant Young, Colby Turner, those guys are second year players. So I think there's just also a little bit more experience on the Lions defensive line. Lone Spoon says, not afraid of the Bills. Their run defense is not that good. No, it's not good at all. It's their run defense is trash. Now, obviously, what you're gonna see on Sunday is a team that has tried to do something to stop the run. Because while, again, I think it was the Sunday night game with the Bills and the Chiefs, they were comparing their defenses and how good the Chiefs defense has been. And they were like, well, conversely, the Bills will give up the running. Like, they'll give up the run. Like, you can gash this defense. Which turned out to be true. But I think because Detroit is known for running the football, they're like one of the most famous football teams for running the football right now, along with the Ravens and the Eagles. I think that the Bills are going to have to they're going to have to designate some extra resources to try to stop the run of the Detroit Lions. Listen, if the Bills play defense the way that they played against the Rams, this is going to be a blowout. And I don't think that as an NFL team, going into a game against the number one team in the league, especially if you want to debate between us and the Chiefs, but just look at the product this year, and I think most people will say it was us. If you're going to go into a game against the number one team in the league, certainly the number one team in the NFC, and look like you looked against a trap game, right? A trap game team, because though you traveled across the country and across timelines or time zones, you were still favored in their house, okay? You were favored to win. That was a trap game. So if you look the same way on defense as you looked in that trap game, bro, remember how we scored on, who was that was it the Jaguars? How we scored on every possession pretty much? That's what's going to happen against the Bills. So I don't expect that Bills team to show up in Detroit looking like that. Because if you do, just stay home. There's no point in coming. That's all I'm saying. Lone Spoon says, contain Josh Allen and run the ball well, and the Lions will be good. Yeah. I mean, and here's the thing. Are you even containing Josh Allen? That was the thing that I was so frightened about as far as Josh Allen. I've said before on different occasions, Josh Allen frightens me. Okay, I'm not even going to lie to you. But after I saw him come out and play a historical game, a game in which no one has ever seen this occur before, right? I mean, ever. It's never happened. 3 touchdowns through the air, passing, 3 touchdowns on the ground, running from the same player, and you still lost. That gave me some pause. Right? On some of my fear of Josh Allen. Okay? I'm like, before then, if you don't contain Josh Allen, if you let him get loose, if you let him go off, you don't have any chance of winning. Now I'm just like, all right, I'm good. Just obviously you're not going to just let Josh Allen do whatever he wants to do, because that's not football. But I'm no longer worried about Josh Allen being the reason that, putting this team on his back and winning the football game. He put the team on his back and produced 42 points. All of their 42 points came from Josh Allen, whether he was throwing it or running it. And 42 wasn't enough because their defense couldn't stop them from, or couldn't stop the Rams from putting up 44. That's the point. Okay. The Bills have a first-year defensive coordinator. Well, unless this Sunday is going to be his 5th year, he better buckle up. You know what I'm saying? He better buckle up. Unless he's going to leapfrog the next 4 years and gain some experience by the time he gets there on Sunday, he better buckle up. Brent DeWitt says, perfect example of a great player against a good team. Right. For sure. So back to the secondary. As we said, the Detroit Lions secondary, per Ocho Cinco and Shannon Sharp, can be had. And I'm trying to understand, based on the numbers, based on what we've seen on the field, because we actually watch the football games that occur in Detroit and wherever Detroit plays, I haven't seen a secondary that's bad. I have seen a secondary that has been excellent at times. I've seen a secondary where one of our safeties leads the league in interceptions, and the other one leads the league in pass deflections for a safety. This is what I've seen. I've seen a rookie corner who has done nothing but get better week in and week out, and I've seen a true lockdown corner in Carlton Davis who talks the talk and walks the walk, who is a leader on this defense, who is a mentor for Terrion Arnold and Ennis Rakestraw, who needs to be re-signed. I can't stress that enough. Carlton Davis came here. You traded a 3rd-round pick for him. I was a 1-year rental. No, it's not a 1-year rental. This man needs to be re-signed. I don't give a damn about a 3rd-round compensatory pick because he leaves. No. Re-sign that man, okay? Needs to be a priority in the offseason. I need Carlton Davis back, okay? Because Ennis Rakestraw is not ready, especially since he's going on IR and all these things. No, he needs another year underneath Carlton Davis. Obviously, now if Carlton Davis walks, we will attempt to replace him. But I think what he offers to this football team, what he offers to the locker room, I don't know that you can just up and replace that. But if I trust anyone to do that, it would be Brad Holmes, because he's shown a knack for being able to do these things, right? So this is what I would say. Thank you, Paul Thomas. Lone Spoon says, and CD the third still making plays with a broken thumb. I mean, bro, broke his thumb in practice, trying to jam up Amon-Ra St. Brown and still came and balled out. Shannon Sharp is in the Hall of Fame. Ocho is a nominee for this year's class. Maybe they see something that others don't. I don't know what they see. Here's the thing, TaylorMade. They don't watch the football games. Okay? They thought that the Packers came in on a short week. They don't watch the football games unless it's in front of them. They don't have any prior knowledge of what goes on in the NFL. They're only talking about the game that they watch. So they watched the Detroit Lions how many times? They watched them against the Texans because that was a Sunday night game. They watched them against the Packers because that was a Thursday night game. They watched them against the Seahawks because that was the Monday night game. And then they do a show. So they've had 3 shows called Nightcap, which came on right after the Detroit Lions played a football game. So I don't think it's from their knowledge of football that they're saying that the Detroit Lions secondary can be had. I think it's from the bias that the national media has had and the narratives that have been built. And as I said, it's been because of the Detroit Lions. It's been because of their organization. It's been because of all the teams. It's not unfair that the narrative has been spun, but what's unfair is that they continue the narrative without actually knowing what they're talking about. And I'm not going to tell you I know more football than either one of these guys, right? They probably have more football knowledge in their pinky than I have. Nah, okay. I'm not going to sell myself short like that. Come on now. You know what I mean? I've been around the game, bro. I grew up with it. I've taught it. I've coached it. I played it. Okay. They have more football knowledge than me because one of them is a Hall of Famer and one of them is a nominee. I'm going to give you that much. But they don't watch this team like I do. They don't follow it. They don't. Right? They're given games that they're going to watch and they're going to talk about. They don't watch the Lions every Sunday or every Thursday or every Monday. They don't. They haven't watched all 13 of the games. Right? They don't even know the players that are on the team. A lot of times they're messing up talking about one player's on another team. It's like Charles Barkley's segment, who he play for. They don't know their national media. They don't. They watched the Lions the other night. Yes, but just watching a team 3 out of 13 times, you can't make an assessment. Right? If I hadn't seen Caleb Williams get sacked 56 times, right, I couldn't make an accurate assessment as to why he's getting sacked. I know he gets sacked because he holds on to the ball for too damn long and because his offensive line is terrible. Right? But if I just saw, he gets sacked 56 times, all I could really surmise is his offensive line must be terrible. So the fact that he holds on to the ball too much, I wouldn't know if I didn't watch. So what else do we have here? Kane Press, you still scared? Come on now. K Press, I told you need to change your name to K is very pressed because you always scared. Stop being scared. Stop being scared, girl. Say it with your chest. Again, we have to trust in this regime. Okay. Now remember, there wasn't a single person that thought the Patriots were going to be screwed if they lost Josh McDaniels or if they lost Charlie Wise or Romeo Crennel or insert Bill Belichick coaching tree here. Okay. The only reason that we're saying that is we see the job that both of these coordinators are done. But rest assured, they are grooming people right now within the building. And I'm pretty sure that they've also, because there's coaching pathways and things like this, just like they identified Deshae Townsend, right, who came in here and, again, another reason, is doing an excellent job. You fire Aubrey Pleasant, then you fire Champ Bailey, and you get Deshae Townsend in here, and he's doing a phenomenal job with the secondary. Absolutely phenomenal job with the secondary. You got Terrell Williams in here, who you knew and identified as being, if not the one of the best defensive line coaches in the NFL, and you brought him in. And look what he's done with your defensive line when it's been patchwork for most of the year, right? You got Coach Shep, who phenomenal job with the linebackers, phenomenal. You had Alex Anzalone coming in here, and nobody wanted him here. They're like, who is this stopgap guy, right? You got Mark Brunell, who's done an excellent job as a quarterback coach with Jared Goff. Okay, again, Jared Goff, who's this stopgap guy? He's a bridge quarterback. Nobody wants him. Look what he's doing in year 4, right? So the coaching of Aaron Glenn, the coaching of Ben Johnson, phenomenal. Crazy work, right? Crazy work. Can we sustain the loss of one or both of them? I have enough trust in this organization, and I've never been able to say this before. Okay? I've never been able to say this before. I have enough trust in this organization. I have enough trust in Brad Campbell. I call him Brad Campbell anyway. So I have enough trust in Brad Campbell. Okay? So I don't have to say Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell all the time. I have enough trust in Brad Campbell that they will figure it out, that they have already been taking steps to figure it out. Listen, Dan Campbell is teaching AG and Ben Johnson how to be head coaches. They have strategic meetings based off of not what Dan Campbell is the one that makes these decisions, right? The meetings that they're having going over situational football is based off Dan Campbell showing them what they need to know when they are coordinating an entire team like he does. So I believe that we will be able to withstand the loss of these coordinators. I'm not telling you that we're going to be 16-1 or 17-0 because they've left, right? But I would expect us to continue on the trajectory that we're on, which is a Super Bowl caliber team that is in the hunt every single year. That's what I would suggest, or that's what I would expect. No, it's not pronounced Deshae. It's not pronounced Deshea. It's pronounced Deshay. uh, did I skip? Hold on. Oh, I didn't skip any of your comments. Okay. So you said, why do you think the Detroit Lions are the topic of discussions all over the league? Well, exactly what we've been talking about. The Super Bowl caliber team that's 12-1. And they are the Detroit Lions, and people are trying to figure out why they're so good. And along the way, they're sliding them and not giving them their props and disrespecting them all along. But, as we've said, to err is human. To F around is to find out. You know what I'm saying? To err is human. To F around is to find out. So Phil says, we have several coaches that could lead a team. What about Scotty Montgomery? Scotty Montgomery is excellent. I don't know that he's going to get too much consideration for head coaching, but we know what he means to this team. He is a head coaching candidate, but I think because of the fact that he is the assistant head coach and he is the running backs coach, I mean, the backfield is historic. You've got Jahmyr Gibbs, who has already gone over 1,000 yards, and it took him 13 games to do it. Now, is that Scotty Montgomery? No, that's Jahmyr Gibbs and his ability to run the football. So I don't know if you say we're going to lose Scotty Montgomery because what he offers to a team, because based off of performance, Aaron Glenn's performance and Ben Johnson's performance are more tangible. You can see them more so as not cogs in a machine, right? So you look at Sonic and Knuckles. These are cogs in the machine, which is the offense. And who is the one that runs the offense? That's Ben Johnson. So that's why I would say, okay, Ben Johnson's more likely to be sought after than Scotty Montgomery. When you listen to the Bears podcasts, they're over there like this. They got the binoculars. They're like, Ben Johnson looks good. Pause. I'm just saying, right? They're not over there like, could you look at Scotty Montgomery? Look at the coaching chops on him. They're not doing that. Okay. But 100%, I understand what Scotty Montgomery does. Okay. Lone Spoon says the Bills game ultimately doesn't mean that much for seeding. Our magic number wins and or 3 Eagles losses. We do that and we don't have to worry about the Vikings. But you just want to win. You want to win every game, so it doesn't come to any tiebreakers. Our quickest path to getting the number 1 seed without there being any doubt is to go 16-1. That's just our quickest path, right? There's no, how the NFL likes to screw us. You know what I mean? They might invent something that, well, the Philadelphia Eagles have a higher EPA when it comes to wins and the fourth quarter scores, and just go 16-1, and then you don't have to worry about anybody else because nobody else has that record. Some people are scared of the Vikings. I would find it more logical to be scared of the Vikings than the Bills, just based off of what Lone Spoon just said, based off of the seeding, right? I don't think that we lose to the Bears. I don't think that we lose to the Vikings. The only way that I see us losing to the Vikings is if we go in there at 15-1 and everything's already locked up. And so you're giving your starters a rest because it doesn't matter. And we have injury concerns and we need to be getting people rested up and healthy. We're going to get a bye. So that's 2 weeks off. And then what we'd be talking about for that entire 2 weeks would be the rust versus rest argument. You know what I mean? So shout out to Raw Williams, indeed, just a fan. Paul Thomas says, if we're scared of Sam Darnold, we need therapy. Now, okay, so Kevin O'Connell has done a great job with Sam Darnold. And if you look at Sam Darnold's stats, they're very, 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 very close to Jared Goff. The only thing that Jared Goff is beating him in is completion percentage. So with the right tools, you can fix anything. So Kevin O'Connell has the right tools. I think, remember, Sam Darnold, just like Jared Goff, was a number 1 overall pick. So whatever people saw in Sam Darnold, I think that Kevin O'Connell, if only for a season, if only for a 2, he has been able to unlock within Sam Darnold. All right, what are the comments that we have here? Vikings are arrogant. Vikings are stupid. They're just, and it, again, I can't put it on any other person in the Vikings locker room other than Byron Murphy. He's the only one talking. And as I said, every time you put a microphone in front of his mouth, he has something to say about the Detroit Lions. Okay? And he can't just say, and this is what, go back to Xavier McKinney, go back to Tucker Kraft, go back to what they had to say after they were swept by the Detroit Lions. Go back to what Xavier McKinney had to say before both of the games against the Detroit Lions. Stop talking. Be quiet. Say nothing. Respect your opponents. Just say, Lions are a very good team, especially with the Vikings, especially with Byron Murphy. They're a very good team. They came into Minnesota. They beat us. So we're looking for some get back. You don't even talk about the get back. Okay. They came in and we weren't able to hold serve at our own, home venue. So it should be a good game. Last game of the season. Don't say we owe them. Don't say anything. Our focus is going to be just going in there trying to get the win, whatever way we can. And we'll let the chips fall where they may. This is what Byron Murphy needs to be saying. But Byron Murphy doesn't know this. So Phil says, does every position have a coach, or is it all groups of player specialists? No, it's groups, if I understand what you're saying. So Shep is the coach of all linebackers. Like, now they may have assistants and things like this, but Shep is working with the Wills and the Sams and the Mikes. He's the coach of he's got the whole room. If I understood your question correctly. Brenda Witt says, one of my favorite plays was when Amon-Ra St. Brown grabbed that pass, realized he was a yard short, jumped up and held his hands up to the sideline to let them know he's short. Shows how this team is dialed in. Right. Vikings don't have chips, just horns. We do not need to be scared of Sam effing Darnold. I'm not saying we're scared of him. I'm just saying we respect our opponents over here. That makes us different than the Packers and the Vikings. The Bears, I don't even know if they've said anything. They're not in the position to speak. They're too caught up in their own internal turmoil to say anything about any team outside of Chicago. So Phil says Detroit, top to bottom, is the best in the league. Front office, medical staff, scouts. Yes, 100%. I hope we resign Kirby Joseph. I like his attitude on this team. Okay, there is no way that anybody could see anything other than Kirby Joseph resigning with Detroit. That is, Kirby Joseph is the same as Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's the same as Penei Sewell. He's the same as Aleem McNeil. He's the same as Hutch. He's a core member of this football team. The core members of this football team have been re-signed. They've gotten their deals. Kirby Joseph will be getting his. It would be crazy because Kirby Joseph is a product of the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions took a guy who played 1 year of safety in college, and they developed him into who he is today. So I don't think there's any way that we see anything different going on with them. Lone Spoon says, if we beat the next 3 teams, we don't need to beat the Vikings. The 3 goes down with every Eagles loss. So the Eagles losing to so if you guys aren't aware, okay, remember when T.O. and Donovan McNabb were sniping at each other in the media? This is happening now with A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts. Now it's coming all from A.J. Brown. A lot of people don't like Jalen Hurts, but Jalen Hurts, at least externally, has been nothing but class. There's nothing bad that you can say about Jalen Hurts' character, at least from the outside looking in. So, but that's a distraction that's happening while winning. You're winning and you're complaining about the passing game. And the Eagles were one horrendous Xavier Legette drop from losing to the Carolina Panthers. Again, give the Carolina Panthers credit. They're playing better. Bryce Young is developing before our eyes, becoming a better quarterback. However, again, and I'm going to keep saying this, it's no longer a surprise when you see a Sam Darnold, okay, come this late in his career and go, okay, well, he was a first overall pick, and there had to be a reason for this, right? So then you got someone to unlock it. So now don't be surprised if Chicago gets their stuff together and they get competent people around Caleb Williams that are in charge of his development. Don't be surprised if he reaches his potential. Again, the only thing that is going to stop Caleb Williams from developing into a pretty damn good quarterback is his inability to not play hero ball. If you get a coach that goes, all right, like, let's do the Patrick Mahomes thing. I'm not comparing Caleb Williams to Patrick Mahomes, even though people want to do that or wanted to do that when he was drafted. Andy Reid lets Patrick Mahomes be Patrick Mahomes while having a dynamic scheme in place. I think if you give that autonomy to Caleb Williams, I think that's going to be disastrous to him. Because if the coach says, just go out there and be you, well, you're going to see him do all that dumb stuff where he holds onto the football for 10 seconds and runs around in the backfield and takes 20-yard sacks. So you got to coach that out of him, and you have to give him the right to earn that. If someone takes that approach with Caleb Williams, then don't be surprised to see him realize his potential. If they take the Andy Reid approach, then Caleb Williams is just, he's always going to be a bad decision maker. Okay, the same thing I say about Jordan Love, that's going to plague Caleb Williams, because Caleb Williams is not going to know, when do I play hero ball, when do I not? Okay, just like he was unaware. I don't care if you're a rookie or not. Call a timeout in Detroit on Thanksgiving. That was asinine to me. Okay, you call a timeout. You don't have the play. You have a timeout. Burn the timeout, because then the next thing that you can do, if you do get something with 30 seconds, right, you throw a pass in the field of play, you get down right away, and you get down, you snap the ball with 10 seconds and you spike it, or 15 seconds. So just understanding the game of football with Caleb Williams is going to be an issue. But like I said, Bryce Young, he was a number 1 overall pick. We see him developing. Kudos to Bryce Young for developing, and they're starting to click over there in Carolina. But Philadelphia, if you're as good as they say you are, you don't come one drop pass away from losing to a team while you're 10-2 who has only won 3 games. It shouldn't happen, right? All right, let's get back to some of these comments. Yes, Jalen Hurts is mid, but I'm just talking about his character, right? All right. Jalen Hurts has an outstanding team of women around him. I guess you're talking about like his mom and grandma and sisters and stuff. So if Paul Thomas, yeah, y'all can't send super chats and stuff, but if you wanted to support me in that way, just do the buy me a coffee thing, right? It's in the link is in the description of all my videos and all my lives. So if you want to support the channel financially before the channel can support itself financially, and because not going to get too far into it, right? But the financials were off. Let's just say that before. So if you want to support my channel financially, you can click on the on the link in the description, become a supporter, and then just send your chats and things like that, and I'll figure out how to link the buy me a coffee and the YouTube or the OBS so that we can see your comments and things like that. So yeah, so if you want to do that, again, I'm just answering that. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm just saying that's an option. All right. Harpazo says Jalen Hurts chokes sometimes. He hitting the check down valve instead of hitting someone wide open. So this is the thing, and I said this before. I know Easy said it on the heavyweights, but I think I talked to him about it. So Saquon is who they try to run the offense through, but he does take a while. Okay. So when you look at the Ravens game, yeah, because we talked about the Ravens game when he was here. So you look at the Ravens game, and Saquon took a while to get started, right? I don't know that the defense of the Philadelphia Eagles is going to be able to. Now, they have a great secondary as well. I don't know that they're going to be able to stop the Detroit Lions offense enough to be able to wait for Saquon to get started. So let's say you go down, the Eagles and the Lions are playing an NFC Championship game. They have to come to Detroit. You try to get Saquon going. We stack the box. I mean, Jalen Hurts, you can't throw for 140 yards against the Detroit Lions and think you're going to win the football game. You just can't do that. So they stack the box, 2 3-and-outs. Detroit gets the ball. They score is 14-0. Saquon's essentially gone. He's no longer a part. As far as the running game, okay. I mean, maybe you string it out till the end of the first half, but if you're down 17-0, 21-0 at the end of the first half, then you're coming out in the second half and you're putting the ball in Jalen Hurts' hands. And again, without Shane Steichen, who was there in the Super Bowl, and you saw it like a shootout between the Chiefs and the Eagles, you wonder if Jalen Hurts is just that same guy that you saw at Alabama get benched at halftime of the national championship game. That's all I'm saying. All right, let's see here. K Ain't Press has a question. Says, with all the money they've made with home and away games, are they going to use the money to sign some players? They sign players all the time. Like I said, the core of this team is getting re-signed. Okay? J-Mo, core player of the team. They're going to pick up his 5th-year option, and then they'll re-sign him after next year. I'm sorry, wait. We're going into his 4th year, but you have to pick up the 5th-year option this offseason. So basically, you'll have him locked up for 2 more years. You'll have him locked up for his 4th year and the 5th year because you've picked up the option. If they don't pick up his 5th-year option, then after the 4th year, then they'll have to extend him. And I just think that it's a bad business move. If J-Mo is who you say he is, and he's improving, and he's endeared himself to the coaches. He hasn't endeared himself to the fan base just yet. And I just think there are some people in the fan base that will never embrace him. And that's just what it's going to be. I am the official keeper of the J-Mo, so I embraced him from the beginning. It's going to be expensive coffee. Hey, no problem, Paul Thomas. I appreciate you. Harpazzo says, number one thing, Caleb Williams doesn't have an O-line. Number 2, a great coach, a great OC. Also, Chicago has never had a 4,000-yard passer. Chicago, you a place where good QBs go to die. You are not incorrect. So they have the same problem with ownership that we had with ownership, is that ownership handcuffs the franchise. And until ownership got out of the way here in Detroit, and identify, and maybe Sheila was a natural choice, but they just overlooked Sheila because she was a girl. I don't know. But I do know that she grew up watching the Lions, and I do know that she had more love for this team than was it William the Third or Junior, her brother, right? So I think he was looking at it as just a business thing. And she came in with passion and wanting to deliver this team a winner and wanting to see the winner herself. So I think until the Bears get out of their own way as far as their ownership, I don't think that they're going to be able to do anything. But really, with a quarterback like Caleb, like I said, all they need to do is hit on a coach who understands how to fix him and how to develop him. And if they do hit on that coach, then again, yes, you have to give him offensive line and all these things. But if someone has a competent plan as how to maximize what Caleb Williams can bring you, because he has all the talent, it's just between the ears that's not there. So that's got to be developed. Phil says, if Josh Allen starts to run around, he best take some ibuprofen. Lions will smack his rear end. Listen, if it was someone else, right? Like I said the same thing about Anthony Richardson. Josh Allen, bro, is a big dude, bro. Josh Allen is like a linebacker passing the football and running with it. I don't. Anthony Richardson is too, but Anthony Richardson, again, we had questions about his mental fortitude, like his doggishness, the capacity to keep going. We have no questions about that with Josh Allen. We know Josh Allen is a dog, so I wouldn't want to see him coming in the open field. Phil, I will be here for the foreseeable future. My wife is from here, so my kids are here and everything. So, yeah, gonna settle down here. I don't obviously know what the future holds, but yeah, this is my home for now. But I'm a person that has done a lot of traveling and has done a lot of moving around. So who knows where the future will take me. How many games will the Vikings lose? It called me crazy, but I think that they can overlook the Bears and lose to the Bears. Packers will have get back on their minds. So this is the thing. This is the question that you have to ask yourself. Does the mentality of Byron Murphy permeate through the locker room? If the mentality of Byron Murphy permeates through the locker room where everyone should be looking at us and stop looking at the Lions, and we're tired of hearing the Lions hype, and they're just so fixated on the Lions, I can see them stumbling, losing 2-3 games down the stretch. And there's only 4 games left. So, their total losses, I would put them probably 13-4, their total record. It wouldn't surprise me if they lost at least 2 more games. Why there's just Phil's got a lot of messages. Phil says nothing wrong with down under. Yeah, so our summer is very weird, bro. It's, again, like, you may start off in the morning needing to wear a hoodie, and then by the afternoon it's a sauna. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's just weird. Lone Spoon says, I don't believe in the Vikings. I honestly think they will lose to the Bears and the Packers. Yeah, that I'm at that same place. And do they have the Seahawks? I think do the Vikings have the Seahawks? I think they do have the Seahawks. And that's one that they could lose. And I think they're playing in Seattle. So they may not win another game. No, I think, Dan, but I think with our injury situation, Dan would just be different this year. If we truly had the number 1 seed locked up, because remember last year, I think we didn't really have much to play for, and he had Sam LaPorta out there, and he got hurt. Thankfully, he was able to be back for the playoffs, but it was a similar situation. So I would think that they would be able to beat the Lions the last game of the season is if we have the number 1 seed already locked up. Just a fan. No, I will not. I will not come up with the spiders and snakes recipe. The Lions haven't clinched the NFC North yet, though, which is wild and crazy. It's wild and crazy. The Chiefs clinched the AFC West 2 nights ago, right? Crazy at 12-1. You haven't clinched your division, but the Chiefs were able to do it. I think if the NFC North cannibalizes itself, I think if the Bears were to beat the Vikings, that would be, who did the Vikings lose to? I know they lost to us, and who else did they lose to? Phil, kangaroo, I don't know what it tastes like. I don't eat kangaroo. Kangaroos are like my favorite animals. I want to one day have one as a pet, so I will not eat one. That would be like me eating a cat. That's not my thing. So Bears have to play in Minnesota. Vikings don't lose that one, in my opinion. I mean, every game, this is what I meant about their mentality, right? Every game for the Vikings, and before they get to the Lions, it's going to be a trap game if That's their mentality. Now, if they have the mentality where it's just the next game is the next game like the Lions do, okay, then you could say there may be some things where they don't lose anything. The Vikings have to play the Rams. All right. Yeah, so but you have to look at there are more games on the schedule, but the Lions are 4-0 in the division. The the Packers are 1-3. So I don't think there's any way that they could win the division because they've lost both games to the Lions and they lost to the Vikings. The only team that they've beat is the Bears. Did the Bears and Vikings play earlier this season? All right. So I would say that the Vikings have played the Packers. If they've played the Packers and the Bears, they've also played the Lions. So they'd be 2-1 in the division. I feel like the Vikings played the Bears earlier this year. I think that was during the stretch where, yes, they lost. How did they lose that game? They lost the game. Yeah, they played. They played the Vikings. So the Bears lost to the Vikings in Chicago. They've got to go to Minnesota. The Vikings are 2-1 in the division. The Bears are 0-4 in the division. No, are they 0-4? Or are they 0-3? They're 0-3 in the division. The Lions are 4-0. So it would take some doing for the Lions not to win the NFC North because not only are they 4-0, but they're 12-1. And their one loss did come to an NFC team. But I feel like if the Lions beat one of the Bears or the Vikings, they've locked up. They've locked up the NFC North. And then we've got to play the Bears after the Bills. No one's looking ahead to the Bears. We're focused on the Bills. So it would be tough for the Lions not to win the NFC North. It'd be very, very difficult. Brent DeWitt says Australia was on my mom's bucket list, but she got sick and I couldn't make it happen. I got a sister-in-law working there and hopefully meeting her in the spring. I mean, sorry to hear about your mom. Australia is what it is, you know what I mean? Like, I don't rave about it, you know. I mean, it's much safer than Detroit. That's all I can say. But I don't rave about it. You know what I mean? There's issues. There's issues. Yeah, Vikings lost to the Rams. Okay. That's right. I remember that. So both of us have lost to an NFC South team. No, NFC. They lost to NFC West. We lost to NFC South. But both of us have lost to another NFC team. That's what I'm saying. I don't think they have just as good a shot. The Lions only need to win one more game in the division to pretty much guarantee it. They'd be 5-1. I mean, if they lost to the Vikings, they'd be 5-1 in the division. The Vikings have to play the Bears and the Packers. I guess in a way. So let's say and this is not going to happen. I don't believe this is going to happen. But let's just say the Lions were to lose to the Bears and the Vikings, which again, I can see a loss coming to the Vikings if they're not playing for anything. If the number one seed is already locked up and we're sitting people. Bro, it would just have to be a lot of losing by the Lions, and then we're 12-1, so I don't see how that works. The Vikings lost to the Rams, and yes, they beat the Bears in Chicago. Bears could beat the Vikings. I mean, the game was close. I think that was the one where Caleb Williams took the 19-yard sack when they were trying to drive down and win the game. And that's, again, you can't take a 19-yard sack, bro. Detroit is better than it used to be. Oh, yeah. As far as the city in itself, yeah, it's coming back. All right, Justin fan, we'll catch you tomorrow. Yeah, but I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here too, guys. Can't say I've gone way over. I don't have a limit. I could do a 3, 4, 5 hour stream if I wanted to, if I had the time, right? But I'm gonna go ahead and get into the rest of my day. All right, Phil, we'll see you later. Once again, guys, appreciate everyone for coming through, hanging out. Make sure you smash that like button if you haven't already. Make sure you subscribe if you have. Well, if you're here talking, you subscribe, right? If you're out there and you're trying to talk and you can't talk, make sure you go ahead and subscribe so that you can speak. You know, I'm trying to get my subscriber count back up, trying to build the empire back up. You know, on my own, once again. Where I will be staying. That's where I will be. Know that it's better for me and can't have any clashes with anybody. So Lone Spoon, I'll read your comment before I head out. Neither the Vikings or the Eagles can finish tied with us, or we will take the number one seed. Yeah, I feel you as far as the record. All right, guys. Once again, smash like buttons, turn on notifications, make sure you subscribe, make sure you share streams, let everybody know what's going on around here, and let them know this one very, very important thing, that the Motor City Cats are back at it. Came to give you stats, not static. But whatever you do, and I can't tell you what to do, make sure you keep your Lions news pragmatic, and we are out.